If you want to know how your cat is feeling at any given moment, don't look at their face, look at their tail. It's the most expressive part of a cat's body, and it's been studied by animal behaviorists for decades specifically because it's so readable. Your cat is broadcasting their mood constantly, in a language that's remarkably consistent from one cat to the next. The trouble is that almost nobody has been taught how to read it, and a few of the signals mean close to the opposite of what people assume. Hi everyone, I'm Leo Bennett, your neighborhood cat guy. Today we're going through 12 tail positions and exactly what each one means. Some are invitations, some are warnings, and a couple of them are the reason people get scratched by a cat they thought was happy. Let's start with the best one, the tail straight up. When your cat holds their tail vertically, that's a happy, confident cat. You'll see it when you come home from work, and you'll see a kitten do exactly the same thing approaching their mother. And there's a rather lovely piece of research on this. Back in 1997, a behaviorist named Cameron Beaumont ran a study using cat-shaped silhouettes and found that cats would readily approach a silhouette with a raised tail, but were noticeably reluctant to approach the same silhouette with a lowered tail, which tells you something important. Tail up isn't merely a mood, it's a signal of intent. It says, I'm friendly and I'd like to interact. And that's what I want you to take from this whole video. Your cat is talking to you constantly, and almost nobody ever hands you the translation. That's exactly why I wrote the Happy Cat Manual. Everything I've learned about reading cats, all in one place. It's over at leobennettsecrets.com. Go take a look if you want more happy years with your cat. That's all. So anyways, if your cat comes toward you with the tail up, that's a green light. That's the moment to pet them or start a game. You've been invited. And it's worth noticing how often it happens, because it's a decent measure of the relationship. A cat who greets you tail up most days is a cat who's genuinely pleased you exist. Next, the question mark. Same thing, but with a curl or a hook at the very tip, so the whole tail forms a shape like a question mark. That's a happy, friendly cat with an extra element added, curiosity. Something has caught their interest and they're ready to investigate it. You'll often see it when they've spotted something new or when a visitor arrives and they've decided to find out more. Now, the tempting thing is to reach for that curled tip because it's charming. Don't. Most cats prefer to be stroked where their facial scent glands are, the base of the ears, under the chin, around the cheeks. That's where the good sensation is, and it's where they'd rather your hand went. Third, the tail wrapped around you. If your cat wraps their tail around your leg or your arm or across your hand as they walk past, that's affection. It's the feline equivalent of an arm around the shoulders. And you'll see cats do it to each other too. Two cats sitting side by side with their tails draped across one another are genuinely bonded. That's a friendship rather than mere tolerance. And it usually means cats who live together and actively like each other. If you get that from your cat, take the compliment. That's not a small gesture. Fourth, the quiver. And this one comes with an important caveat, so stay with me. A quiver is a rapid, tiny vibration running along the length of an upright tail. The tail stands erect and the whole thing seems to shimmer. That's excitement, and it's usually excitement about you. You come home, you open a can, you walk into the room, and the tail goes up and starts vibrating. It's a friendly greeting, and it's typically packaged with purring, head rubbing, and sometimes a happy chirp or trill. Most owners will tell you it happens most reliably right before food, which is fair enough. Excitement is excitement. Now, here's the caveat. If a cat quivers their tail while backing up against a vertical surface, a wall, a door frame, the side of the sofa, that's not a greeting. That's urine marking. Both males and females spray, though unneutered males do it most. It's territorial, and in unneutered cats it's also a message to the opposite sex, so the position tells you which one you're looking at. Quivering tail, facing you, coming toward you, greeting. Quivering tail, backed up against something vertical, marking, and worth a conversation about neutering and about what's changed in the house. Fifth, the puffed up tail. And this is the one people get backwards most often. A cat with a bottle brush tail, fur standing straight out in every direction, tail twice its usual thickness, is not being aggressive. That cat is frightened. Puffing up is a bluff. It's an animal making itself look considerably bigger than it is, in the hope that whatever it's facing decides the whole thing isn't worth the trouble. You'll often see it with an arched back and the body turned side on, which is the same trick from a different angle. And knowing that changes what you should do about it. The instinct is to correct the cat or pick them up and soothe them. Both are wrong. What you should do is find what's frightening them and remove it, or remove them from it, and then give them space and a clear route out. Never corner a cat in this state and never push through it. A frightened animal with no exit is exactly how bluffs turn into bites. Let them come back to you in their own time. And don't punish it either, which people sometimes do because it looks like defiance. You'd be punishing an animal for being scared, and the only thing they'd learn is that being scared around you makes things worse. Sixth, the tail held low. The general rule with tails is beautifully simple. The lower the tail, the more negative the feeling. A tail carried below the level of the back means something in the environment is bothering your cat. Anxious, uneasy, possibly defensive. And there's a version of this worth taking seriously. A tail carried right down, low to the ground, in a cat who's tense, is a defensive cat. And defensive behavior can turn into aggressive behavior if the pressure keeps building. So when you see it, back off. Give them space and an escape route. Let them settle and check what's actually changed in the room, because something has. Seventh, and this is the extreme version, the tail tucked underneath the body, between the legs. That's unmistakable. That's a genuinely frightened or nervous or submissive cat. There's no ambiguity in it at all. A cat in that state needs the situation to change, not reassurance. Work out what's causing it. A visitor, another animal, a noise, building work, a change in the house, and deal with the cause. Make sure they've got somewhere safe to retreat to and let them use it. Eighth, the tail hanging down with a dip near the base. This is the subtler cousin of the low tail. The tail hangs downward with a curve or a dip in it, rather than being held out or up. That's mild fear, or a bit of defensiveness. It's a cat who isn't happy, but isn't yet frightened either. I mention it because it's an early warning. It's the stage where you can still fix things easily, before it becomes a tucked tail. Ninth, the tail curled tightly around the body. A cat sitting or lying with the tail wrapped snugly around themselves is a cat who's protecting themselves. That's fearful, defensive, nervous, or simply uncomfortable. Wrapping the tail around the body is a way of closing off. A relaxed cat is open and loose, sprawled, stretched, taking up space. A cat who doesn't want to interact withdraws and makes themselves compact. So if you see it, end the interaction rather than pushing it, and have a look at what's stressing them. But, and this matters, don't confuse it with the sleeping cat curled up with their head tucked toward their chest and the tail around them. That's a completely different thing. That's a cat conserving warmth and protecting their vital organs while they sleep, which is normal and comfortable and means nothing at all is wrong. Context is everything. Awake and wrapped tight and tense, withdrawn. Asleep and curled up in a donut, cozy. 10th, the twitching tip. This is where just the last inch or two of the tail flicks, repeatedly, while the rest stays relatively still. And this one has two completely different meanings, so you have to read the rest of the room. If your cat is hunting or stalking or actively playing with a toy, tip twitching is concentration. It's a cat locked onto something and running the whole predatory sequence. That's a good state to be in. But if there's nothing to hunt and nothing to play with, the same signal means mild frustration or irritation. And that's the one that costs people. Because tip twitching while you're stroking your cat means they've had enough. That is the very first warning you get, and if you keep going, the twitch becomes a flick, the flick becomes a wave, and eventually your hand gets bitten and you tell everyone your cat attacked you for no reason. There was a reason. It was in the tail, several minutes before. So the habit worth building is this. While you're stroking your cat, watch the tail rather than the face. At the first twitch, take your hand away. Do that consistently and the biting largely stops, because you're relieving the pressure before it builds. 11th, the slow sway. This is the whole tail rather than the tip, moving slowly from side to side in long, deliberate arcs. That's deep concentration and usually predatory concentration. Something has your cat's complete attention. An insect, a toy, a bird on the other side of the glass, and they're building up to a pounce. You'll usually see it paired with ears pushed forward, which is the hunting ear position, and a body that's gone very still and low. So unless there's a problem with what they're focused on, leave them to it. That's a cat doing the thing they were built for, and interrupting it is genuinely frustrating for them. And 12th, the thump. This is the one you must not misread. A tail that whips rapidly back and forth or thumps loudly against the floor is not happiness. I want to be extremely clear about this, because it's the single most dangerous piece of dog-colored thinking there is. A dog wagging their tail is pleased. A cat lashing their tail is not. That's an unhappy, agitated, or frightened cat, and the faster the thrashing, the more intense the feeling. And it's genuinely different from a slow, inquisitive swish. This is forceful and rhythmic, and it has an angry quality you can hear when it's hitting the floor. It also comes packaged with other signals: a crouched posture, ears flattened, eyes averted or hard staring. And a thumping tail very often leads to aggressive behavior if nothing changes. So when you see it, stop what you're doing, step back, and give the cat space. Don't reach for them. Don't pick them up. Don't try to reassure a lashing cat with your hands, which is precisely how people get hurt. Now, two more that are worth knowing because they're subtle. The tail held out behind at roughly a 45-degree angle, not up, not down, just out and slightly raised. That's a cat who's undecided. They're neither welcoming you nor warning you off. They haven't made their mind up. That's actually a lovely opportunity. Talk quietly. Crouch down so you're less imposing. Offer a relaxed fingertip at their nose height and let them come to you. Handled well, an undecided cat frequently becomes a friendly one, and you'll have earned it rather than forced it. And the last one, which I think is the funniest: the sleepy flick. Your cat is asleep. You come into the room, or you say their name. They don't lift their head. They don't open their eyes. They don't move at all, except for one single, lazy flick of the tail tip. That's an acknowledgement. It means, I heard you. I'm not getting up. And it's genuinely a good sign, even though it looks like being ignored. A cat who feels safe enough to remain asleep in your presence while still registering that you've arrived is a comfortable cat. They've decided nothing needs to happen, and you're not a reason to wake up. Cats do everything on their own terms, which won't surprise anybody who lives with one. So let me pull it together. Straight up is happy and an invitation. A question mark adds curiosity. Wrapped around you is affection. A quiver is excitement, unless they're backed against a wall, in which case it's marking. Puffed up is fear, not aggression. Low is unhappy, tucked under is frightened, and curled tight around the body is a cat closing themselves off. A twitching tip is either concentration or irritation, and you tell them apart by what else is happening. A slow sway is hunting. A thump is a warning, and it's the opposite of a dog's wag. 45 degrees is undecided, and a single flick from a sleeping cat is the closest thing to a shrug you'll ever get from an animal. One last thing, and it's the most important sentence in this video. Never read the tail on its own. The tail tells you the intensity and the direction of a feeling. The ears, the eyes, the whiskers, and the posture tell you the rest of the story. And a signal that looks the same can mean two different things depending on what the rest of the body is doing. A twitching tip on a hunting cat and a twitching tip on a cat you're stroking are the same movement with completely opposite meanings. But once you're reading tails, you'll find you can't stop. Your cat has been narrating their entire emotional state to you every single day, in a language that's consistent and clear and remarkably easy to learn. You just needed someone to hand you the dictionary. So tell me in the comments, which one had you reading it backwards? I'd guess the thump for most of you, and I'd guess a few of you have the scars to prove it. Hit like, subscribe, and send this to somebody who's just got their first cat. I'm Leo Bennett, and go and watch that tail tonight.